Hello, young changemakers. Welcome to the Grow Up Global Leadership Summit presented by P&G and its brands Always, Olay, and Whisper. My name is Marielle, and I'm the founder of a Grow Up club in Brazil, Grow Up Rosalind Franklin, where we aim to promote gender justice in STEM. I'm so excited to be one of your MCs for this extraordinary virtual event.
My name is Nishita. I'm a Girl Up Teen Advisor and I'm currently based in the United Kingdom, where I'm passionate about equal education for all and encouraging more girls to enter predominantly male dominated fields, such as politics, to increase equal representation in all spaces. We are so thrilled to have you all here with us today.
We have an incredible day ahead of us, filled with inspiration, activism, and the celebration of our voices and power as young leaders.
Today, we are connecting with Girl Up youth leaders from every corner of the globe. Whether you're joining us from New York, Cape Town, Delhi, or Mexico City, we are all united in our mission to create change and make the world a better place.
Absolutely. You know what I'm excited about, Nishita? The incredible lineup of speakers, workshops, and interactive activities planned for everyone. So get ready to be inspired by trailblazing activists, thought leaders, and change makers who are using their voices to challenge the status quo and their power to break barriers.
Throughout the day, we will explore a range of critical issues from gender inequality and education to climate justice and mental health. We believe that by addressing these issues head on and working together to create equitable solutions, we can truly create a more inclusive and gender just world for all.
And let's not forget the power of connections. All summit long, you'll have the opportunity to engage with other Grow Up leaders, include those currently attending Girls Up's in-person regional event, the USA Leadership Summit, forming lifelong friendships and building a global network of changemakers.
That's right, Marielle. We are stronger together, and the friendships and collaborations formed here today will have a lasting impact. The Global Leadership Summit is more than just a one day event, it's a catalyst for change and a launching pad for your leadership journey.
And speaking of leadership journeys, we want to hear from all of you. Throughout the summit, we encourage you to share your thoughts, ideas, and experiences on social media using the hashtag GirlsLead23. Your voices matter, and we want the world to hear them.
As we're using our voices, though, remember that Girl Up has a zero tolerance policy on bullying and discrimination of any kind. If at any time you feel uncomfortable or unsafe while chatting with another attendee, you can click the mute user button to stop seeing any of their messages and the report user button to notify Girl Up staff of someone that has broken our policies. In addition, we encourage you to speak to a Girl Up staff member in the Q&A tab of the side panel and email safety@girlup.org to report what happened.
When you registered for this virtual summit, you agreed to follow the Grow Up safety and security guidelines and to help co create a brave and safe online space for all. That means everyone should feel welcomed and ready for a fun virtual experience. However, please make sure to keep your last name, email, or other contact information private.
You should also see an option for the summit to be captioned in 16 different languages, including Spanish, Portuguese, French, Arabic, and English. Just click the closed captions button on the bottom of your screen. International Sign Language will also be shown as a pinned video.
Another good thing to know is that you can find our summit program complete with speakers and sessions descriptions and the times of each in the Zoom events main page in case you need to step out at any time.
Without further ado, let's get started. It's time to be inspired, challenged, supported, and energized. This is your summit, and we're honored to be a part of it. Let's amplify our voices, unleash our power, and make a difference together.
That's the spirit, Nishita. Now, let's kick off the Grow Up Global Leadership Summit, Our Voice, Our Power, with a word from our presenting sponsor, P&G.
Welcome to the 2023 Girl Up Global Leadership Summit, Our Voice, Our Power. My name is Cassie Jagani, the Corporate Communications Leader for P&G Sub-Saharan Africa and Baby Care Communications for AMA. We are thrilled to have been in partnership with Girl Up for the past 4 years and to be presenting sponsor of today's incredible event, along with our brands Always, Whisper, and Olay. After all, it's not every day you get to be in the presence of thousands of passionate, insightful, and transformative changemakers from all around the world. I'm just absolutely delighted to be joining you today and working hand in hand to create a gender equal future for everyone. At P&G, we firmly believe in a world free of gender bias, with equal voice and equal representation for all individuals. A world where our differences are celebrated and not overlooked, and where each of us has the same access to building and living equitable lives. We know that when gender equality is realized, economies grow, communities are healthier, businesses can thrive, and the world is a better place for everyone. The Global Leadership Summit theme, Our Voice, Our Power, amplifies the significance of youth activists all over the world, like each of you tuning in today, advocating for gender equality alongside other vital social issues like climate justice and racial equity. As a global society, we're facing many intersecting crises, and your voices are essential to bringing fresh perspectives and a deep understanding of the complex challenges of your generation. All it takes is a glimpse at today's Leadership Summit program and the incredible conversations taking place among Girl Up leaders to know that today's youth activists are tuned in and already leading on pivotal social change. From Sundaria and Maria Jose's workshop on the importance of gender equal spaces in sports, to Girl Up Teen Advisor Liliana's moderation on persisting through crisis situations, to our fabulous MCs, Marielle and Nashita's leadership activity on organizing in digital spaces, this year's Global Leadership Summit is filled with opportunities for learning, inspiration, and collaboration between each and every attendee, no matter what corner of the world you're joining from. Over the course of the day, I encourage you to bring your full selves, thoughts, and opinions to every conversation and really lean into the theme of today's event, Our Voice, Our Power. Individually, you are all powerful agents of social change, already contributing to the movement for global gender justice just by being here. But by harnessing your collective passions and visions, collaborating on new ideas and directions, that's where the real magic will happen. Organizing and advocacy are not solo sports, so I hope you'll use today to forge connections with one another, embark on new conversations, and listen and learn from your peers and experts in the gender equity space. Together, your power to forge ahead and create a gender justice future for everyone is absolutely limitless, and I've rolled up my sleeves to join you. Now, let's officially get this year's Global Leadership Summit started. I'm thrilled to introduce Girl Up Youth Leader Lena for a girl talk on intersectionality of gender equality and climate justice. Over to you, Lena.
Hello everyone, my name is Lena and I'm the president at Girl Up Feminine and founder and executive director of Ethereal, which is a non-profit organization. And I'm here today to talk about the intersectionality of gender equality, education, and climate action. Growing up, I always knew that I wanted to make a difference in the world. And when I was in school, I discovered my passion for climate action. I got involved with several organizations in order to advocate for climate action. But I quickly noticed that there was a lack of female representation and leadership in the field. I began to wonder why there weren't more women involved in the climate space. And I soon realized that it was because many girls and young women didn't have access to education and resources necessary to pursue careers in these fields. And that's when I decided to get involved with Girl Up to start a mentorship program for girls. The goal of this program was simple: to provide girls with the tools and support they needed to pursue their passions and become leaders in the sustainability and climate space. I paired girls with mentors who were already working in the field and provided them with access to resources and opportunities. Through the program, I've seen the incredible potential of girls to make a difference in the world. I've seen them become confident leaders and change makers. I have actively contributed to combating climate change from mentoring to consulting businesses on reducing their carbon footprint. To accelerate the pace of making a difference, I decided to interconnect social issues and researched on how they can be resolved by finding intersectionalities among them. Intersectionality is a concept that's been around for a while, but it's more relevant now than ever before. It's the idea that social equality is not just based on one factor, but on the combination of different factors. It's important to understand how different issues intersect and impact each other. As women, we know that we face unique challenges in our lives. We often struggle with equal pay, we're less likely to be promoted to leadership positions, and we face discrimination and harassment in many areas of our lives. But did you know that women are also disproportionately impacted by climate change? Climate change affects everyone, but it impacts women differently. Women are often responsible for providing resources for their families, and as the effects of climate change become more severe, these responsibilities become even more challenging. For example, when crops fail due to drought or flooding, women are the ones who have to find other resources of food for their families. When water sources dry up, women are the ones who have to travel further to find clean water. In addition to these challenges, women are also more likely to experience the health effects of climate change. As temperatures rise, women are more likely to experience heat stress, which can lead to dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Women are also more likely to experience mental health issues, such as depression and anxiety, as a result of the stress caused by climate change. So, what can we do to address the intersectionality of gender equality and climate justice? First, we can support policies and initiatives that prioritize gender equality and climate justice. This could include advocating for policies that support women's economic empowerment and have access to education and healthcare. We can also support initiatives that promote renewable energy and sustainable agriculture, which can help to reduce the impact of climate change. We can also take action in our own lives to reduce our carbon footprint and support sustainability. This could include reducing our energy consumption, using public transportation, carpooling, etc. We can also get involved with organizations. These small actions can add up to make a big difference in reducing our impact on the environment and supporting climate justice. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. In conclusion, it's important to understand the intersectionality of gender equality and climate justice. Women are disproportionately impacted by climate change, and it's up to all of us to take action to support gender equality and sustainability. Let's work together to create a more just and equitable world for all. Let's all embrace our power, knowledge, and passion to ignite this light of change and create a world where women are at the forefront of climate action and education. Thank you.
Blows my mind. Girls are missing school, they're missing out on certain events because they're unable to access period items. We know when these basic needs aren't met, there's less of a chance successful learning is going to happen.
Having free sanitary pads available for girls, it makes girls able to go to school and get the education they need.
They know that thanks to always, they only have to ask the teacher.
It's phenomenal that we're able to distribute these products, empowering these girls.
Really refreshing to see the girls getting on with their daily life and they don't have stigma of I've got my period, that means I can't do something.
Wow, Marieli, one session in and I'm already feeling inspired.
For sure, Nishita, what a strong start to our 2023 Global Leadership Summit.
As we've just learned from Lena's Girl Talk, gender justice is a multifaceted issue, and to achieve true gender justice, we must address all the complex areas within it. Along with climate change, one of the biggest issues facing our world today, right now, is menstrual dignity.
Although more than 300 million people are menstruating around the world on any given day, menstrual dignity continues to be a topic shrouded in silence. At Grow Up, we are shedding light on this issue that demands urgent attention so that no menstruator is held back by the limitations imposed by outdated taboos.
Model, actress, and Miss Universe 2021 Hanaz Kaur Sandhu uses her platform to advocate for universal access to safe and affordable menstrual health and hygiene. Listen as she shares how we can pave the way for a world where menstruation is no longer recognized as a barrier but as a source of strength and pride because together we can end the stigma. Period.
Namaste. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak to all of you today about critical issues affecting half of the population of the world, women and girls. Menstruation is a natural process that affects half of the world's population and yet is stigmatized and ignored. Menstrual equity is not just about providing pads and tampons, but also about addressing the systematic inequalities that prevent people from accessing them. I first learned about period poverty as a child from my mother, who was a gynecologist. Growing up, we talked freely about my period. I was never embarrassed or humiliated. Having my period was normal and natural, but when I traveled with my mother to other parts of India, I learned that wasn't the same case for so many people. I learned that the stigma surrounding periods is still a huge barrier to women's empowerment and equality. In many countries, menstruation is still considered a taboo subject, and girls and women are ashamed and excluded from their public life during periods. This lack of access to menstrual products, clean water, and sanitization facilities, and is a major barrier to education and employment for girls and women around the world. Many women and girls are forced to use unsanitary materials like leaves or even mud to manage their periods, putting them at a risk of infection and disease, which can even lead to death. Period poverty is a term used to describe the lack of access to menstrual products, education, and support. To end this period poverty, we started the campaign Period for Change, the global menstrual accelerator, which will invite changemakers in the space globally and help scale up their efforts. To tackle the problem, we need sustainable response by private industry, NGO projects and commitments, government distribution schemes, social enterprise, and the implementation of the far-reaching awareness and advocacy campaigns. To end period poverty, we really need to address the root cause of inequality, including poverty, discrimination, and lack of education. Another way by promoting education and awareness about menstruation is including and teaching boys and men about the importance of menstrual health. Education and awareness are the key breaking the silence and stigma around menstruation. By talking openly about periods, we can help to normalize them and reduce the shame and embarrassment that many people feel.
Hey Nishita, did you know Grow Up has engaged more than 200,000 youth leaders in 152 countries?
I'm not surprised. Girl Up is rapidly expanding its global presence with a goal to mobilize 1 million youth leaders by 2030.
Wow, in order to do that, Grow Up must have a really strong network of regional hubs, country level affiliates, and youth leaders, right?
Of course, we wouldn't be anywhere without our global community of movement builders who are impacting social change at the local level.
Grow Up in Asia Pacific is the perfect example of this. With more than 124 new clubs last year alone, the youth in these regions are passionate action takers who are eager to engage.
In a conversation with Girl Up India Communications Coordinator Anushka Maheshwari, Girl Up regional leaders Aiden from India and Ashley from Australia share their region's advocacy progress and the steps they're personally taking to organize an even greater impact.
Thank you to our lovely MCs for that great introduction. Welcome to this fireside chat on Girl Up and youth activism in the Asia Pacific region. I'm your moderator for this session, and I'm excited to be in conversation with two incredible activists and leaders from the Girl Up community. Aiden and Ashley, it's great to have you here. To start on an exciting note, how has being part of Girl Up influenced your understanding and engagement with youth activism? Aiden, let's start with you.
All right, it's been a great experience actually working with Girl Up. And I started working with Girl Up when I started high school. And that is prior to that, I really believed that, you needed to grow up to actually make a difference. And you were like really too young to start doing something that you were passionate about. But Girl Up made me realize that, it is not the age that matters, it's actually the intentions. So yeah, that really opened up my worldview.
I think that's such a great point as well. And that's something that I've definitely realized being a part of Girl Up is that it doesn't just take the people in the formal leadership positions in government or parliament to kind of affect change at a larger scale. It can also be people that are in schools that, have connections with their local community sporting clubs and things like that. So I definitely think something that I've realized being a part of Girl Up is that social impact can be affected on so many different scales with people of any age, really, and the impact can be really profound.
Thank you for sharing your personal journeys of activism with us. Building on my last question, can you share some key accomplishments or initiatives that you and your fellow club members have undertaken over the last year?
So one of our larger events last year was IMCAN. It was titled IMCAN, and it was a pitching event based on finding small solutions to real life and like small problems that were affecting schoolgoers at that point. And it didn't need to be a huge issue like global warming, but a small issue that people faced on a day-to-day basis, and probably coming up with a solution to that.
Yeah, definitely as being the Oceanic regional leader, there are so many initiatives that have happened over the last couple of years, or the last year even, with both Australia and New Zealand predominantly. A series of clubs over the last year started this movement. They call it a Digitee. So basically, it's an event that's kind of held like a high tea, and students or club members bring in sanitary products, which are then donated to local women's homeless shelters across the state and the country, wherever the clubs are. And this initiative has really, grown like wildfire over the last year, and it's had a really, really great impact that you can follow. We've also had clubs that have taken part in initiatives with making birthing kits, which are basically then sent to women overseas in developing countries that don't always have access to sanitary birthing institutes to have their own children. So it's just little things like that in our very privileged societies that we're a part of that you don't think of that can have such a really great impact for people in need.
Those are some truly, truly incredible initiatives, Aiden and Ashley. Now, reflecting on your experience within Girl Up, can you perhaps share a specific story or example where the connections formed in your region helped spark a collective action or campaign that has made a meaningful difference in advancing gender equality?
So, based in India, there's a lot of diversity across the country, right? And as a part of, I remember there was this one competition and an event we held that was the aim was to raise funds for the sex workers working in Delhi and in Tamil Nadu, because the COVID had really affected their occupation. So the Delhi clubs and Tamil Nadu clubs had all come together to prepare this event called Pixel Kala, which dealt with having a Canva boot camp in the first half and competition in the later half to raise funds for the sex workers. And it was a great event where we had people from the north and the south of the country just coming together and working towards a singular goal. It was a really wholesome experience.
We've had some really great joint initiatives that have spanned it across the whole oceanic region. One of the most prominent ones I can think of is we had a club in New Zealand who held a really simple bake sale and raised enough money to buy 5 push bikes, which were then sent to a community overseas, and these bikes literally gave young females a means of transport to go to school and actually receive an education. This initiative, I think it was such a tangible initiative that people could see that you can have such a great impact without having to bend over backwards to organize these really complicated events. So news of this initiative traveled to Australia, and we've had clubs all over the country now, and also in New Zealand, that have continued the initiative. And every year we send about, like, I think last year potentially we sent over 500 bikes overseas with Girl Up to girls in need. And this also sparked what we call the School Cycle campaign. So that's the official name of this initiative. But it's really, really great that all of these clubs can do things separately, whether they're within their schools, communities, but it all adds to this collective initiative. It's really cool.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. It's so exciting to see the impact that can be made through collective action. Now, reflecting on what strategies have you found most effective in engaging other youth in your region, and how have these efforts contributed to building a stronger network of activists?
I've personally found that interaction is like the key element to actually building a community of like activists. And also acknowledging and appreciating their work regardless of how much of an impact they made. It might be little one affecting one person, there might be an event that affects sports or to affect 100 people, but just appreciating the work they put into it is really important. And also making sure that there's a channel that can allow them to communicate with each other, discuss ideas with each other, because sometimes the best ones just crop out of random discussions with other people where you're literally just brainstorming anything and everything and you're like, oh my god, you could do that, and that goes on to become a really big thing. So just giving a platform, I think, is really important, and it's really helped.
I definitely think this question is not an easy one to answer, as it really depends on who you're working with and who you're trying to communicate with. So I think the first thing I could say is just being flexible is really important, especially when you're engaging with youth all across the country, or even in my case, across an entire region. Making yourself contactable so people can get into contact with you, but also don't underestimate the influence of social media as an example, as being like a sole platform that can bring everybody together, sharing ideas and being able to post highlights about their clubs and what they're doing. So yeah, social media has its place for sure.
Well, this brings me to my final question for the session. In your perspective, what specific issues or movements in India or Australia require immediate attention and active participation from youth activists?
Something I feel and personally also have seen in my life, despite having been lucky to have a privileged background, is that there is a lot of gender disparity, especially in the STEM area. Coming from a STEM background, there are, the amount of girls in our class versus the amount of boys in our class, there is a huge difference. But I think it can get a lot better with people actually understanding that STEM is not just a should not just be a male dominated field. Change is coming, it's slow, but I think with a bit more of push, it can really, take up to great heights.
I definitely agree with that. I also think COVID had a massive impact on a lot of people in our countries and countries that we also support as well. So ensuring that there's a really great focus on well-being and intention behind whatever actions that you're taking is so important, and making sure that Girl Up is such a great global network of like-minded individuals, but still we are supporting each other in this cause that we are all passionate about. At the end of the day, that will just help our social impact be even greater.
Thank you, Aiden and Ashley. I think with that, we can wrap up this fireside chat. It was great having you join us today. And I want to thank you for your incredible work as youth activists and Girl Up leaders. On that note, I'll pass it back to our MCs.
Not going to lie, Nishita, I'm super pumped for this next part of our plenary.
Of course you are, Marielle. It's all STEM related.
You got it! The STEManist in me can't wait. First, we have the privilege of inviting the president of Caterpillar Foundation, Asha Varghese, and Chief Executive Officer of Grow Up, Melissa Kilby, to chat about all things STEM for social good and how our decade-long partnership together is engineering a movement.
Afterwards, Girl Up leader from Chile, Elisa, will join us on the virtual stage for a girl talk on the importance of pursuing an education in STEM and overcoming the gender gap in these fields.
And to wrap it all up, stay tuned for a very special announcement regarding our STEM scholarship recipients and who will be receiving funding to do exactly that.
I am so excited to be here with you at our Global Leadership Summit. And most importantly, I'm excited to celebrate a very important partnership with Girl Up. We have been partnering with the Caterpillar Foundation since 2013, which is 10 years. That makes Caterpillar Foundation our longest partnership. And I really want to just take a minute to thank the foundation, to acknowledge how much of an impact this incredible company and foundation has had on our work and our movement. Since we launched our STEM for Social Good programming, we've engaged 22,000 Girl Up leaders over that time. And since the beginning of our partnership with the Caterpillar Foundation and their investment in education, leadership, and STEM as we're moving forward, we've actually impacted 67,000 Girl Up leaders around the world. Now, that is something truly to celebrate. Mostly, I'm excited now to bring in the president of the Caterpillar Foundation to talk a little bit about why this partnership is so important to the Caterpillar Foundation. Asha, please join me.
Well, thank you, Melissa. It's truly great to be here and just really wow to hear some of those impact and the numbers that that you just shared on our partnership.
A long-standing commitment, long-term commitment, that really makes real investment and real impact possible. So thank you again. So I want to hear, you have been a foundational partner to Girl Up for the last 10 years, and we have grown exponentially over that time. This partnership has been such a big part of that. What do you see as really the key driver and reason for the Caterpillar Foundation to support Girl Up leaders and girls' leadership over these years?
Great question. One of the core focus areas for us at the Caterpillar Foundation as part of building resilient communities is really our focus around workforce of the 21st century. And we understand that how important it is for us to provide that foundational skills needed not just in the trades, but also in STEM in order to ensure that you are providing economic prosperity and mobility for families, students, as well as the community. But what we also understand is that it's not just important to provide the skills, but also we need to have holistic programs, an ecosystem-based approach that you had mentioned, where you provide the life skills, the leadership skills, and the STEM programming that's needed. I know growing up, myself, I had that support as an engineer myself. I had that support, and hence it enabled me to be in a career that's STEM focused. But the reality is that many girls around the globe do not have that ecosystem and do not have that support. That's why I'm so passionate about what we do at the Caterpillar Foundation. And one of the key factors we know is that we cannot do this alone, which is why partnership with organizations like Girl Up is so important for us and the impact that you're making across the globe. So we're so proud to support the work of Girl Up, and it's really wonderful and to see the tremendous scale and the growth that you are having, or we are collectively having across the globe through our partnership since 2013.
Well, Asha, again, I can't emphasize how much this partnership has meant to Girl Up and to the girls of our movement. So I also wanted to just really understand, Caterpillar Foundation has been such a strong supporter of education, particularly STEM education, over this last decade. What do you think? What does the Caterpillar Foundation, think is the importance and impact of having more girls pursuing STEM careers?
STEM plays such a critical role in shaping our society and the future as it touches nearly every aspect of our lives, from healthcare to infrastructure and everything in between. And STEM also needs a diverse perspective to be able to build an equitable future with solutions that really addresses the needs and perspectives. I always talk about unlike minds coming together to be able to build stronger solutions. And that's something that's very needed in the STEM space. And STEM really plays that critical role to be able to shape the society that way. Even in 2003, there is still a significant gender gap that we're seeing in STEM. Progress is great, but it is too slow, and we're all frustrated. I know in a very recent study by the World Economic Forum that talked about that it could now take 131 years to close that global gender gap after an entire generation of progress was lost due to COVID-19. That's a pretty jarring statistic. So this makes it even more important for us to take action now. And that's why it's important to invest in programs in STEM education today and elevate it collectively as a group. Which is why the work that the Girl Up team is doing is so important, and your program specifically in STEM for Social Good boot camps, as well as the YSI camps, they're truly making an impact in the lives of girls around the world, and they're providing the skills that they need to excel in their future. And this truly should be a way in which we should be able to fill that critical gap that we're seeing, and why it's so important for us to invest in these programs for better opportunities and for better outcomes.
Asha, I couldn't agree more. I mean, getting girls to pursue those studies, to envision, a career path, so that they can be part of the solutions. That's really what STEM for Social Good is all about. So we are in total agreement. And I'd love to hear too, in your time working to advance gender equality and supporting Girl Up through the Caterpillar Foundation, and just through your broader work as a professional in this space, has there been a moment or experience that has stood out to you, a time when you really saw the direct impact on youth leaders?
There's so many, but one that comes to mind is one of my most recent experience in meeting two young Girl Up leaders at the Social Innovation Summit recently in LA. What really struck me is that both of them from very different backgrounds, and a couple of things that really stood out for me. One, they were talking about how they saw in their community how the Girl Up program was impacting other girls that were pursuing a STEM pathway, and hence it inspired them to create their own clubs. And that just speaks to the awareness and the inspiration of the Girl Up program that really inspired these two young ladies to take up that mantle and talk about how they wanted to start their own clubs. And we all know that starting your own club is no small feat. So the boldness with which they were able to influence folks to put a club together and start something from scratch is truly inspirational. And being at the conference that really provided a platform for diversity, gender equity, and just opportunities really gives them an opportunity and exposure to really understand the impact of STEM education and the growth that's possible. I know we had talked about the Olympics in LA in 2028 and how it requires a diverse mindset and capabilities to really be able to build that. So in order for the girls to really be exposed to such opportunities and leadership and mentorship, that is such a critical path or a critical opportunity for them to really be able to build up their confidence as well as their pathway to a STEM career. I know personally, going from an engineering degree to now running a corporate foundation is as a result of such mentorship and exposure to opportunities. So very excited for the girls that have embraced this journey for themselves. And here's to many more that will be coming through the Girl Up program and programs like this that will really give them that awareness, exposure, and opportunity to really grow in their career.
Asha, I think my favorite thing is anytime I get to be with a Girl Up leader in person and hear the stories and understand just on the ground how that movement is growing and how they're inspiring each other. I think that is such a powerful part of our community that's so unique, is that they're all inspiring each other. And that gives me so much hope for the future. And actually, to round out our conversation today, looking ahead, let's talk about the next 10 years. What do you hope to see for the youth leaders engaging in Girl Up?
I'm so inspired by the young people these days, up in arms by the backsliding of gender equality progress, fighting for what they believe is right, and refusing to take no for an answer. I mean, that is truly inspirational. And their involvement in Girl Up provides them with the right skills and the confidence they need in order to achieve their personal goal. So, as they advance as leaders, they will continue to play a crucial role in helping the next generation of girls. I truly can't wait to hear what each of these leaders accomplish during the next 10 years. Their future is so bright, and we at the Caterpillar Foundation are cheering them on.
Well, thank you, Asha. We're so grateful to this partnership. We're excited about the future. I am also excited about, those 22,000 Girl Up leaders around the world who have been part of the STEM for Social Good program, to see their past, their career past, the solutions that they come up with, and hopefully a really better outlook for all of us around the world. And I think Girl Up and the Caterpillar Foundation together have a big part of that story. And again, we're just so grateful and so excited for the future. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing great, and thank you so much for having me here today virtually at the Girl Up World Leadership Summit 2023. So I'm really happy to be here, and hopefully I can share a valuable message to you. Well, Girls in Quantum was originally intended to be community oriented, like in my city here in Villa Alemana, which is in Chile. In my city, for my schoolmates, and also, well, for my school. But yeah, I had the possibility of getting into this world of quantum computing and quantum mechanics thanks to this full scholarship that I received from IBM, where I got immersed into this quantum mechanics course, learning about different topics. And yeah, it was really fascinating for me, but also what I found the most surprising for me was encountering this community of enthusiasts and people that were highly motivated to learn more. They were like, so enthusiastic about learning about coding or about, different topics. So I was really happy about that, and I wanted to recreate like the same for my school here. And I told myself, like, what if I do something like in my school, perhaps like sharing that with other students, share educational resources perhaps, or videos with what I've learned in the course. And I messaged through Zoom the students, because we were like 1,000, and mentioned about collaborating with me and perhaps doing something. And some of them replied and told me like, yes, Elisa, let's do it. So a girl from USA joined, a girl from Spain, and a girl from Africa first. And I was so happy about that. We were learning with each other about quantum computing. We were doing these educational resources, and we were sharing that with other students, because my main purpose right there was, okay, if I had the chance of having the scholarship, of getting immersed in this program, why not sharing this with other students who perhaps do not have the same access or the same opportunities? So we started with that. We started sharing that with other languages as well, to have like this sort of, more access to these resources to other students. And yeah, that's how Girls in Quantum become this sort of international organization after a lot of effort and of course this team collaboration. And why I mention this is because you can do the same. I mean, if you want to do an initiative, if you have something in mind, an idea, the three things that I always highlight is team collaboration, social impact, and also this sort of, having role models. That's the word. And someone that can support you. So for me, teamwork has been essential throughout all the time that I started with Girls in Quantum. The students and girls have helped me organize different seminars, webinars, many things that I didn't expect before. So yeah, team collaboration is not just what your teachers or perhaps your parents tell you about. It's not just okay, it's important. It's because it's actually essential for everything. So I'm telling you because Girls in Quantum has taught me that. And the second thing is that the social impact. I think that from the first day of Girls in Quantum, I had the idea of reaching more students, reaching more girls, especially that, well, you may know the devastating gender gap out there, especially because there's STEM is a field of, well, highly dominated by male. You can see much more males involved. So what we want is to encourage more girls to become part of it. And the third thing is the support and also role models. I've read some books, for example, The Code Breaker about Jennifer Doudna. I have, talked with different students around the world that inspire me every day. Perhaps we're having a lot of issues in quantum computing, or I don't know in quantum computing, but in Girls in Quantum, because organizing many activities. But however, those students inspire me to do more, to go ahead and face those challenges. Of course, it's not always easy, but they always encourage me and support me as I do. So I think that those three things are really essential for me. Creating this sort of social impact, it's not necessarily to be international, but it can be with your community, with your neighborhood, with your schoolmates. It doesn't need to be globally. I think that the thing, if you like something, if you want to create an issue, go ahead, go find a team. There's, well, many opportunities online that you can search for, educational opportunities out there. So go ahead. I believe you can do it, as any other girl can do it. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this social impact together. And yeah, please enjoy the day. Bye, take care. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Girl Hub leaders. My name is Audrey Bois-Nicolai, and I am the Global Head of Brand at Noble Panacea. We are a high-tech, science-based skincare brand founded by Sir Fraser Stoddart, a Nobel laureate. Sir Fraser received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2016 for his work in molecular motion. And from his decades of research, he discovered the organic supermolecular vessels technology, which is at the heart of every Nobel Panacea skincare products. So science is really at the heart of our brands. And we do believe that the role of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is critical to finding and developing the most innovative and successful solutions to the world's challenges. Nobel Panacea is very committed to giving girls around the globe opportunities to make a difference through STEM. That is why we are very proud and pleased to support the Girl Hub STEM Scholarship Program. For the fourth year, Nobel Panacea is partnering with Girl Hub to give scholarships to 6 talented young leaders to pursue further education in the STEM field. Now comes the moment we have all been waiting for. Please join me in congratulating the 2023 STEM Scholarship Awardees. Alphonsine C, Meha B, Laura G, Céline M, Hamda S, and Kifa U. Congratulations to the 6 of you. We cannot wait to see all of your future accomplishments.
In today's world, online platforms play a crucial role in connecting us. Just look at the summit, for example. That's why it's so important to master the art of virtual collaboration and learn how we can mobilize movements through technology.
And that's why we've put together a short activity that will sharpen our skills and challenge us to think creatively and strategize effectively when organizing within a digital space.
Here's how it works. We're going to stimulate a scenario where you come up with a mini digital campaign plan to raise awareness and mobilize support for an issue you're passionate about.
To get started, Take a moment to identify the cause you want to advocate for. It could be related to reproductive health, LGBTQIE plus rights, racial justice, or any other issue that you feel strongly about. Once you choose your issue, write it in the chat so we can discover all the causes we are advocating for.
Once you have your cause in mind, think about the key message you want to convey and the target audience you want to reach. Consider the digital tools at your disposal, such as social media platforms, email campaigns, or virtual events, and how you can leverage them effectively. What digital tool will you be using? Let us know in the chat.
Now, create a simple outline of your digital campaign plan. Think about the content you will share, the platforms you will use, and the specific actions you want your audience to take. Will it be an infographic on Instagram to encourage your followers to sign a petition, or a video on TikTok asking for donations to a related fundraiser? What type of content do you think is most effective for a digital campaign? Share it with us in the chat below.
As you work on your plan, don't hesitate to let your creativity flow. You can sketch out a social media post, draft a persuasive email, or even brainstorm ideas for a virtual event. Just try to make sure your digital campaign plan is clear and concise so it's actionable and attainable.
Remember, this activity is just the beginning. Take your campaign plan and turn it into action. You have the power to make a difference in the digital space and beyond.
We hope this activity has inspired you to explore the endless possibilities of organizing within a digital space. Continue to be creative, innovative, and committed in advocating for the causes you believe in.
We can't wait to see the incredible campaigns you will create. Feel free to share the plan with us on your socials and tag Grow Up with the hashtag GirlsLead23 so we can follow along on your organizing journey.
Keep amplifying your voices, connecting with global advocates, and leveraging the power of digital tools to drive change. Together, we can make a lasting impact.
Now on to our final session of this first plenary, an issue that deserves the utmost attention.
According to the World Health Organization, a staggering 1 in 3 women experience gender-based violence in their lifetime. That number should be 0.
To learn how we can eliminate one of the most prevalent human rights violations in the world and transform our silence in solidarity, we are honored to welcome the founder of Teachers Consent, Chanel Contos, in conversation with Grow Up regional leader Angeline.
Today we have an amazing speaker with us. Coming from Australia, our speaker is Chanel Contas. Good afternoon, Chanel. How are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, are you ready? Are you ready for our discussion today?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yes. Thank you very much for speaking at this event, and we are very glad to have you here. So, maybe we can move on now to our fireside chat session. Chanel, you've spoken about how you first had this idea to send this form around to get anonymous testimonies regarding women and girls' sexual assault stories. Can you please share with us how did it go from being an Instagram poll to what it is today?
Yes, so out of a bit of a moment of anger, the idea for this was something I had for a while. I had previously collected a few testimonies through approaching friends and things like that, but in basically a moment of anger, I posted on Instagram asking, have you or has anyone close to you ever been sexually assaulted by someone who went to an all boys school in Sydney? So it's quite specific to the context that I kind of like grew up in, and there's lots of single sex schools in Sydney. So I was kind of, trying to approach that area. But then I just got in testimonies from all over Australia, all over the world actually, but mainly Australia. And then the Instagram was too much to handle, so I opened a Google Doc, which is quite funny because anyone could have edited it. And then I was like, oh, we can't have that. So then I opened a Google form, and then I was taking it from the Google form to a Google Doc. It was a horrible, horrible process. And then we ended up launching the website teachersconsent.com, where people could directly submit their testimonies and we could click a button and they would be posted on there. And then that's how the campaign went kind of national. We made the petition for early holistic consent education to be provided in schools, to be mandated in Australian schools. And after a year of lots of, activism, lobbying, meeting with MPs, grassroots movements, all these different things, it happened. So the Australian government did mandate consent education in every school from kindergarten until year 10, every single year.
Thank you for your answer, Chanel. I agree that consent is a topic that's always been missing in the curriculum and conversation that we have, especially when it comes to sexual rights and sexual health and sexual and reproductive health and rights and justice. We actually have a prevalent issue here in Indonesia that is NCII. And it's amazing to see so many progresses have been made in a lot of different countries. Now, what advice do you have or can you offer for the young people, advocates, and activists who want to take action but don't know where to get started yet?
Oh, it's so hard because there are so many places to get started. I would say if you don't know, just start doing things, because something may take off, something may not take off. It may be right time, right place. It might not be. Like I said, I kind of started this a year before I actually went public with it in any way, and I didn't plan to do it on that day. I was just fed up and quite angry at the system, and decided to go forward on that day. I think the kind of best way to start is like definitely in your own community and understanding what's needed at a really grassroots level, and then how you can involve people in that way. But then also, if you are someone who maybe you're doing a big research project, or maybe you're studying at a uni or at school or whatever, kind of thinking about, okay, well, we know the problems, but what are the solutions? Because what I've learned over the last few years is that if you go to, someone who makes decisions, whether that's a politician, whether that's a principal at a school, parents even, if you go to them with solutions to the problem, they do want to listen, because the problem is relatively well understood. It just doesn't really want to be acknowledged by people because it's quite jarring and confronting. But if we say, okay, this is happening, but I think we should do this, in the same breath always, and always have a solution alongside that, I think people are quite receptive to listening.
Thank you for all the tips and advices. It's definitely will be useful for all the young activists out there.
I also actually one more thing that I always think about, that I think is also why Teachers Consent kind of landed so well, because the topic of sexual violence is a really tough one, because it's very personal to a lot of people, especially women, in terms of people who had been, victims or on the receiving end of this thing. But then also, I think lots of men feel very personally victimized by these conversations, and they quite often switch off about them and feel as though they can't approach it in any way. And I got told this quote, and I think about it all the time, and it's very much how I do all of my activism and all of the activism with Teachers Consent. And the quote is, be ruthless with systems and be kind with people. And I think that's a really good way to approach activism as well. It's like always maintaining your kind of like ethics and morality and being nice to people, even the people who have done bad things, but looking at the systems that have created the world where these things happen at scale, and being really critical of those systems and how those systems are affecting everyone in different ways. So yeah, just adding that.
Thank you. Thank you for the addition as well. Chanel, as we all know, sexual assault can greatly impact the mental health of the victim and survivor. How do you prioritize your mental health, and what advice do you have for other survivors out there?
I think that, so interestingly, so I'm a survivor of sexual assault myself, but reading those testimonies, like reading thousands of testimonies of sexual assault in like a few weeks, was actually like way worse for my mental health than kind of like anything that had ever happened before. Again, because of this idea of kind of like normalized sexual violence and not addressing the things. And I had never even heard of vicarious trauma before I started this campaign. And for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's basically when you take on the trauma of another person's experience, even though you didn't experience it, but you're hearing about it. So it feels like your body kind of thinks it's experiencing it. And to be honest, it was really hard. It took me a really long time to be able to navigate that field because I love my job so much, but also sometimes I get home and I'm like, oh, the world is bad and I don't know how to do anything about it. And it can be really draining on mental health, but I guess the tips are that as soon as it feels like it's too much, you really just need to fully stop. Like, unfortunately, the problem's not going anywhere. You're still going to be needed tomorrow, in a week, a month, in a year. If you need to take that time off to just like take a step back and not think about these sort of topics for a while, that's completely valid. I also think, and it goes kind of again to that systems, not people thing, the thing that I found best for my mental health and doing the work in this space is to focus on the structures and high level and, the power imbalances and the things that feed into this narrative rather than thinking about individual people and what that experience is for them. Sometimes I feel really bad about it because I feel as though I've almost had to like put up a wall that makes me feel less empathetic towards a lot of these things, but it's what you have to do because if we actually felt the empathy that every single person deserved in terms of sexual violence, it would be absolutely debilitating. So if you are going to do work in this field, you need to make sure that you're looking after yourself first and foremost. And I mean, it sounds so stupid, but whenever the day is bad for me, I just have like the longest, hottest shower you can possibly imagine. And that seems to kind of do the trick.
I am very sorry for what you went through. If I may share a bit, I am also a survivor of sexual violence myself, and I am also currently volunteering as a case manager for sexual violence here in Indonesia. And I can actually relate by how extremely difficult it is to stay strong through our activism. And I also agree that as activists, what we need to do for our own mental health is to set boundaries. So, Chanel, you have started your own organization, Teach Us Consent, that focuses on lobbying for and providing holistic consent and sexuality education. Many grow up leaders are looking to make an impact in a similar way. Can you share some advice or maybe one thing you wish you knew before you started your own organization?
Yeah. And also, firstly, thank you for sharing that with me and with everyone. It's also so tough in this field because pretty much everyone who works in this field works in it because they're passionate about it, because they've often had experience with it. So it becomes very nice because I think there's lots of mutual understanding between everyone in the field. But then also difficult because it's like, why do we have to be the ones doing this? Like, why aren't the men doing this work? Why aren't they the ones reading these testimonies? I'm sorry. But yeah, tips. I have a few tips, definitely. My number one tip is kind of before you start in terms of, posting something on socials or going to the media or making it like a public thing in any way, is to get together kind of like a group of people, like a expert panel or an advisory group or something like that, and have them be willing to pick up the phone to you anytime to say, how do I do this? Can you connect me to this person? What do you think about this? Can you share this on your socials? And just kind of like a pre-existing group of people who are there, who know what you want to do, who can advise you and support you on that mission. I found that really helpful. And because I was so young when this all started, and I had so many amazing friends and also just strangers volunteer that were also young, and it was very much a grassroots movement, but we had that expert advisory group of kind of like legit older, like very successful people that could give us that more concrete support and be like, no, that's illegal, that's not illegal, don't do this, do that, whatever. It's really helpful. I would also say, I would also, again, as we just spoke about, the boundaries, making sure you're taking time for yourself throughout this process, and kind of like the quicker and earlier you set up those boundaries, the better that's going to be for you, and also your activism. And then another thing that I really didn't realize until I started the campaign and I started doing it, but like important people want to meet with you and will meet with you if you ask them. So just having the confidence, whether it's the head of your school, just being like, can I have a meeting with you? The head of your old school, can I have a meeting with you? Local MP, like whoever you vote for in your electorate, or whoever is in charge of like governing your local thing, I think they have to meet with you, like, and they want to anyway. And so just like going out there and approaching these people again with that solution and saying, can I please speak to you? And then also every single person you meet, ask them for an intro to one or two other people, so that after every meeting you have, you then have a connection that, the local MP or the head of the school has said, hey, I really want you to speak to this person today, and continuing the conversation off. And then it just kind of like becomes an ongoing effect of who you're getting connected to and what can happen in terms of the reach of your activism. And then the last thing is, I think having like a really clear policy or ask or change is what is really effective, because when we're thinking about sexual violence, unfortunately, apparently it's 1/3 of women in the world have experienced it. I think it's way more, but I don't know. We'll never know. And we can't simplify sexual violence to any sort of specific experience, because far too many people, literally billions of people, have their own experiences of it in their own way. So I think what worked really well with Teachers Consent is I very much like focused on the context that I was in, which was Australia, and the kind of like school system there that I felt like I really understood. And again, this form of like normalized sexual violence that I was victim to, the idea of like peer-on-peer sexual assault. But I think being kind of specific, because it is a mammoth issue, so being as kind of specific and thinking of like a policy change or a ask or a amount of money to do a certain thing that will result in a tangible outcome is really powerful, because of course awareness is so insanely important, but I feel like people get fatigued hearing about all these stats around sexual violence, because obviously I think they're really important. We should talk about them a lot, but I understand why people switch off to them. So again, having that solution to come alongside it, I think would be a big tip.
Thank you, Chanel. Well, what an insightful and fruitful discussion we had today. It's such a pleasure for us to have you sharing your knowledge and experiences on today's topic. Everyone who have come to the end of our session, I would like to give an appreciation to Chanel as our amazing speaker, as well as to our committee. I'm Angel Eugenia signing off. Thank you, and see you in the upcoming Grow Up Global Leadership Summit next year. I am passing the mic to the MCs now.
Before we wrap up the first part of our summit journey together, we just want to make sure we acknowledge the various challenges and pressures we face as leaders and change makers.
I would really appreciate that, Marieli, because sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who's struggling with burnout and stress as a young activist. But everyone has felt pressure before, right? If you have, put a heart in the chat.
See, you are definitely not alone, Nishita. These feelings of being overwhelmed or frustrated often stem from the stress we encounter in our advocacy. But here's the thing, stress isn't always a bad thing.
You're right, Marieli. Stress is a normal and natural part of being a leader. In fact, many successful leaders experience stress. It can be a driving force that pushes us to focus and take on challenges with courage.
Exactly. It's fascinating to discover that the way we think about stress can actually influence how our bodies physically respond to it. If we view stress as our body's normal reaction to taking on challenge, we are more likely to feel courage instead of anxiety.
And luckily, there are effective techniques to manage stress. Exercise and meditation have been proven to be powerful tools in stress management. Practicing mindfulness, a type of meditation that increases self-awareness, can also significantly help.
Mindfulness encourages us to pay careful attention to our thoughts, feelings, and senses. Numerous studies have linked mindfulness to lower anxiety and increased resilience to stress. If you've ever done a mindfulness exercise before, write yes in the chat. If not, no worries. We are going to give it a try together. We'll start with a simple mindful breathing exercise.
Find a comfortable position wherever you are. Take a moment to settle in. Begin by breathing in and out. Inhale through your nose, feeling your chest expand, and exhale through your mouth, releasing any stress or tension. Continue this breathing pattern.
Whenever you're ready, gently close your eyes and feel your body grounded. Place your feet flat on the ground. Take a moment to listen to the sounds around you, all while continuing to breathe in and out.
Focus on your breath and body. Notice any tension you might be carrying and consciously relax your face, shoulders, and arms. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Acknowledge the thought and gently bring your attention back to your breath and body.
Keep breathing in and out, allowing yourself to let go of any stresses. When you're ready, open your eyes and rejoin us here. We hope you can use this breathing exercise whenever you feel overwhelmed or stressed. It's a powerful tool to refocus your mind and bring a sense of calm. This breathing exercise and more self-care strategies can be found in Grow Up's free online leadership course. Sign up today at growup.org/growup101.
Even after we conclude this summit, let's remember the importance of self-care and managing our stress. By incorporating these practices into our lives, we strengthen our resilience and empower ourselves to lead with clarity and compassion.
Thank you for joining us so far on this incredible journey of growth, learning, and connection. As leaders and change makers, we have the power to create positive change in the world. Let's continue to support one another, prioritize self-care, and make a lasting impact.
Keep taking little breaks, keep practicing mindfulness, and remember that you are not alone on this journey. Together, we can create a future filled with empathy and understanding.
And as we move forward with workshops and networking, which are starting for youth attendees right after this plenary ends, we hope you find a few moments of peace for yourself to center your mind and calm your breathing, just like we did together.
Thank you all for being such a wonderful audience, and we'll see you soon for Plenary 2.